Okay. So I think the best way I can sum up my thoughts on the most recent episode is with the three following statements. Number one, I really liked the episode as a whole. Number two, I didn't mind the presence of Mr. Beast. And number three, I loathe the twist, the reveal of the Super Beware advantage. So, kind of hitting all of those points. I'll start with the second one because I think that's probably the easiest. I don't think I've ever watched a Mr. Beast video, and I've never watched an episode of Beast Games or whatever it's called. I think it's called Beast Games. I've seen videos about Mr. Beast, and not like deep dive documentaries or anything. I don't know. There was maybe like a ghost kitchen video I watched about Mr. Beast several years ago, but that might have been another YouTuber. I'm not sure. But I know, like, I've seen a Doobus Goobus video about him. I think I've seen, I think there was a Meat Canyon video about him. Not the one about Feastables or whatever they're called. That one I haven't seen. But there was one about Mr. Beast. I remember Jaden Animations doing a video about, like, her experience playing Beast games, or, like, the YouTuber version of that. And I think there was a Doug Walker video, like, a couple months ago where he and some other YouTubers got to watch the first few episodes of Beast games, or it was, like, of Season 2, and give some feedback. That's more or less where my engagement with Mr. Beast begins and ends. I have no real opinions on him because I don't watch his content and I've never met the guy. So, my general stance, this is what I said about Zach Brown. I don't know if I've really said this about Billie Eilish, but my general stance is, are you a contestant? Or Probst? No. Then I want you on my screen as little as possible while I'm watching Survivor. That's just kind of how it is. Like, if someone shows up, like, in a reward challenge for, like, a family member, like, because I love the loved ones visits. Like, I absolutely adore those. But, like, even if this was Keanu Reeves, like, I love Keanu Reeves, I would just be thinking, why is Keanu Reeves on Survivor? like, unless he's playing. Because, like, Jimmy Johnson is a celebrity. I know who Jimmy Johnson is. But he was actively playing Survivor, so I wasn't thinking, what's Jimmy Johnson doing here? I'm like, it was kind of a, wait, what's Jimmy Johnson doing here? But, like, okay, this is kind of neat. That's how I feel about that. But with Zach Brown, that was, I don't know how long that was, but I feel like that was like 15, 20 minutes of just, let's give him some confessionals, let's let this guy live his Survivor dream, which is like, cool. There's like 26 other, and 24 I think is the number of contestants, people living their Survivor dream right now. Can we focus on them for a bit? And with Billie Eilish, while she had not made a physical appearance, it was like every time they talked about the Boomerang Idol, it was always the Billie Eilish Boomerang Idol. Like, we kind of keep having to say her name. Like, okay. It was, like, cute and kind of fun the first few times. Now I'm getting annoyed because I know I'm just being advertised to. Because I think in Cagayan, there was the Tyler Perry idol, because it was something that Tyler Perry had talked to Jeff about. It was like, hey, what if we do an idol like this? Which actually used to be how idols worked. So I'm not, like, super opposed to the idea, but they didn't keep calling it in the season, oh, it's the Tyler Perry idol, oh, it's the Tyler Perry idol. I just don't love that. Like, look, man, we already live in a dystopia where we're just getting advertisements. They're just forced down our throat all the time, and I don't like being actively advertised to. I don't like it when someone approaches me just for the prospect of trying to sell me something. If you are just a fan of the show, is like, I had an idea, I sent it into Jeff, that's cool. And if you want to like reference Billie Eilish once or twice, cool. After a while, it got annoying. Zach Brown, it was like, okay, cool. Like, you're gonna have a little, like, he's a fan of the show. Some of the contestants seemingly fans of him, whether that's genuine or not, I don't know. Like, all right, here's your reward. You're gonna have this dude come out. He's gonna fish for you. He's gonna cook for you and play a little concert. Okay, that's neat. I, as the viewer, don't want to watch like 20 minutes of that. So, with Mr. Beast, I appreciate, and this feels mean to say, but I appreciate like how little screen presence he had. It was just kind of like, here's the guy, they give him a clap, and he seemed like really kind of nice and respectful of it very much felt like I'm here, it is about y'all. And I liked that. That's why I can say I don't love the here's a celebrity blah blah blah, but I can appreciate how minimal his like physical presence felt. Although when you're at Tribal and Jeff is like, wow, so much stuff happened. It's crazy how much happens just because of Mr. Beast. I'm like, I'm not going to say he had no impact with whatever the Super Bower advantage is, but it, at least from the edit I was seeing, it felt like that wasn't the main cause. Transition into what I loved about the episode, which is, man, I love when I watch Survivor and people are playing Survivor and they're not playing Mario Party. Because it's something I've realized about the new era. Like, I was talking to my friend about it yesterday because he hadn't seen the episode because he doesn't really watch Survivor much anymore. And I'm like, okay, so this is what happened. And like, I was talking about the advantage specifically. It's like this, the new era is very Mario Party. Because you will literally be forced to play a minigame. And here's what happens if you fail. It's like you have to play a Bowser minigame all the time. And once an episode, like, hey, if you win, you get to keep something. It's like, you might get something neat, but here's the bad thing if you lose. Oh boy, and it can be really, 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 really bad. And sometimes, like what we got today, or like in the do or die twists, or like the one that poor Justin had to do in 48, sometimes it's not skill at all. Like, at least Christian got to solve a puzzle. Sometimes it is literally just luck. And there is nothing you can do about that. And you are forced to play. Boy, I hate that. I like playing Mario Party. I'm trying to watch Survivor. So Devin's doing all of his smoke and mirrors with the fake idol at Tribal and then going like, okay, this maybe kept me safe once, but has now made me a target. Let me just come clean. Let everyone know, yeah, I did a thing to save myself. I planted it in case I needed it. I want everyone to know that I don't have anything. I'm not actually a threat. Please don't go for me. And Joe going, this dude is he's just a sussy little trickster. I gotta get rid of him. That's Survivor. I love that. We have an auction, and the auction is really fun. And even though, like, comfort, but there's a little twist here, kind of, like, that's fun. And, like, Aubrey just, like, what do I gotta do? Do I gotta eat some grubs? And just having a good time. Like, this is fun. Like, I'm genuinely enjoying this. The immunity challenge was solid. Like, I've seen it before. I don't know how many times. It felt very familiar, but it was still a solid challenge. It is all about endurance. It is about balance. It is about focus, touch. And I like those kinds of challenges where it is just, I don't want to say it's just your will, because I mean, there's not much you can do when you like literally can't fit on the balance beam. But I love just solid endurance challenge. Like, personally, I was really, really hoping in Winners at War that the last immunity challenge would have just been the final immunity from season 1 of, here's a pole in the sand, put your hand on it for as long as you want. And when your hand goes off, you're out. It's so simple, but it is all about your will and your desire. And I'm hoping they do something like that again in 50. Like, I don't mind Simotion. It's neat, it's cool. But for me, Final Immunity hits harder when it is just who wants it more. But I've also heard that, like, after what happened in Palau, they're like, we kind of try to veer away from these because sometimes they go long and they could have, like, lasting repercussions on someone's body, which, like, okay, I get it, but come on. Anyways, though, I loved the gameplay when they get back to camp. Of, again, hey, Ozzy's well positioned and he has an idol. He's not going to see it coming. We should just try to get rid of him now. He's not playing a bad game, and it gets rid of an idol. And then someone ends up telling Suri, who's just like, yeah, okay, yeah, I can do that. Let's see. And then just like, come here, Oscar. This is what's going on. This is who brought it up. These are the ringmasters. We got to get rid of one of them. And then just that happens. But then that plan ends up getting out because Ozzy talks to Jonathan about it. And then Jonathan's like, okay, Steph, they're on to us. We got to change the vote. Do you want to pivot back to Devins because it's easy? Do we want to keep working with Devins to get rid of someone else? Like, hey, Devins, what do you think we should do? It's like, we're thinking maybe we should go for Suri. I don't know. I kind of like Suri. I think I'm allied with Suri, but she's closer to Rizzo than she is to me. If I get rid of Rizzo, I can get closer to Suri, and we get rid of Rizzo's idol. Let's get rid of Rizzo. Cool, we'll do that. And then it ends up changing again. Just because with only 10 people left, there's not a lot of places to hide. And one, like, Tiff is already immune, so essentially there's only 9 people. And not to say that she's, like, a non-person, just, like, in terms of targets. There are only 9 targets now, and everyone has a reason why they could or should be a target. And it's, okay, do we want this person? Yes, but now that they've cottoned on, maybe it's less viable, so we want to do something else. But what if we go back to that? But now this person... And I love that. And yes, it seems that to some degree, some of that was, we have no idea what's going to happen at Tribal with this Super Beware advantage. So it's probably a good idea to have a backup plan if for some reason Target A doesn't work. But also, Target A just seemed to be naturally changing anyways. And that was all really enjoyable. I also said that I love, like, loved ones visits. So, just a montage of people reading their letters. And just those human moments in Survivor. I absolutely loved that. I will also say, just kind of, I guess in more of a meta sense, that one, there's that one confessional where Aubrey was talking about, Ko Wrong and Michelle, and how, Michelle made a late push, and that's what I'm gonna try to do. Like, that's why I think she won. No one here is going to win this season if you made the same mistakes as your previous attempts. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, this is foreshadowing, but is this foreshadowing Aubrey specifically and saying, like, Aubrey is going to win and here's why? Is it foreshadowing just in general that someone is going to make a late push and that's why someone is going to win? Is it foreshadowing that someone is going to win because they're not playing the same game they did before, they're not making those same mistakes? Or is it a combination of 2 of those things or all 3 of those things? Because there's some players where I look at Joe and I'm like, okay, Joe is playing the same game he did in 48, but it feels less effective because in 48 he was at least like the head of his alliance. It seems, from my understanding, like from watching the show and hearing some other stuff, that it seems like Eva was the more like strategic of the 2, but Joe was the figurehead of all of that. And here, he's doing the same thing of, like, you know, loyalty. I don't want people lying to me. As Devin says, it's like, I don't want people playing Survivor. But he's playing the same game. And then you have Suri, who's also kind of playing the same game of, I'm just super chill and laid back, but when someone comes for me or my people, they're done. And it's just masterfully orchestrating everything from the shadows. But is going to be doomed to lose to some advantage or her inability to make fire. Which, I don't know, maybe she does go out and fire. Maybe she wins fire making, and that's the mistake that she overcomes. Devon's, at least right now, is definitely playing the same game he played at Edge of Extinction. But then I see someone like Jonathan, who, yeah, it feels like he is being actively more strategic and is a lot more willing to... I mean, he still is like, you know, I have an alliance, and if someone burns him, he's kind of bitter about it. Like, I saw the way he was talking to Emily at one point where she's trying to talk to him at Tribal. He's like, you're so full of it. I'm like, dang. But at the same time, I do see him playing a different game. And I look at, Ozzy. Ozzy is playing a different game, and it's something that he has talked about a lot. He's like, I'm not Ozzy anymore, I'm Oscar. You know, Oscar is someone who has bonds. Oscar is someone who is trying to play a better social game. And it was either in this episode or the last one, he pointed out, yeah, the way I've played before, I would have just been gone. Like, no one would have saved me, no one would have told me about that. I would have just been super cocky that I'm either going to win immunity or, like, I have an idol, no one's going to target me, and I've gone home like that. So I could maybe see it where it's like, you know, Ozzy has been a low-key threat this entire time because people keep trying to get rid of him, but he sticks around. And if this is the season about his redemption... I don't mean redemption is not quite the right word, but him learning from his mistakes, I could see that. Again, I feel like if Suri is in the final three, you have to have played a god tier game to beat her. Almost kind of in general, because of how much people like want Suri to win Survivor, but also with how well she's played this season, yeah, I don't think anyone has a real chance. So, but if she's out, I could definitely see Ozzy taking it. If Aubrey ends up making some crazy late push, I could see her taking it. Is Emily playing a different game? I don't think Emily's really playing that huge of a different game. Rizzo is kind of in the middle, where it's like he's playing a similar game of, I have an idol, I'm kind of good, and I have a tight alliance. But it at least seems like he's a lot less flashy and show-offy about it. Although even Devon's is like, no, yeah, he's being super cocky about his idol, let's just get rid of him. So maybe some of that is just being edited down. But I could definitely see the argument that maybe Rizzo could do this late season push and learn from his mistakes, which would be, when I have the chance to cut my allies that are going to beat me, I need to do that, because there's no way I'm beating Suri if I sit next to her. Like, I could see something like that happening. But overall, I loved all that. That, to me, is good Survivor. We've got... we have a lot of fun human moments. We've got some interesting foreshadowing in the edit. We've got good strategy. We've got a, good immunity challenge. Cool. But man, I loathed that Super Beware advantage. My theory, before it was revealed, was one of two things. Because during the auction, they're like, okay, here's all your letters. Here's your super comfort. But here's the super chaos. Because you also have to keep in mind, they were kind of told, okay, they're... whatever is in here, basically, you either bought the comfort or you bought the chaos. Turns out you bought the comfort. But now something's coming with it. They didn't know Mr. Beast was going to be there, that there'd be a super beware advantage that would impact Tribal until they'd already bought it. So you can't even really say it's like, oh yeah, well, I mean, they knew what they were getting into at the auction. Not really. No, I'm not gonna buy that argument. Uh, because it was introduced after the letters were revealed, my theory was anyone who read their letter from home is going to lose their vote. And I'm so glad I was wrong. I still hate what it ended up being, but I'm so glad I was wrong. Because number one, I don't think anyone would have kept their vote. So it would have just been like, cool, we have a tribal where no one's able to cast a vote. Isn't that cool? Isn't that crazy? You know what that means? Everyone's drawing rocks. Except Tiff, because you're immune. Everyone else is drawing rocks. And that's what tribal is. Man, in the final 10 of Survivor 50, it's gonna be pure RNG. Isn't that great? I would have been livid. But also, it just would have been disgusting man, you guys have been here for a while, and the conditions have been hard. And all you want is some comfort. You want to be able to read your letters to give you that last push that you need to make it through the game. Aww, look at them having human moments. As the consequence for your humanity, you're going to lose your agency, and your game is going to come down to luck. So glad that didn't happen. As we got a little bit closer, I was thinking to myself, what if there's nothing in there? And what if it was all just kind of like a big elaborate hoax, with the big chaos being just kind of that fear of the unknown, but there was actually nothing to fear. It's just like, oh yeah, look at all this uncertainty that just having Mr. Beast is creating. Like, isn't that amazing? But in reality, there's nothing in there. The chaos was all like in your own minds, in your own heads, and making all of these plans within a plan within a plan as a just in case, like all these super contingencies. You didn't really need them. Like, that's kind of interesting. But alas, that's also not what happened. Mr. Beast pulls out a coin, and it's one of you has to flip it. Because Jeff even says, if you can't decide amongst yourselves who is flipping this coin, we will draw rocks. And whoever loses the rock draw is flipping the coin. So someone has to play Mario Party. And as the consequence of buying your letters from home, someone has to flip a coin, and if they call it wrong, they lose. If they get it right, you're safe tonight. You get an idol in your pocket, and we will double the prize pool to 2 million. Which at the start of the season, I even kind of thought to myself, I was like, I understand with Winners at War, like, it's an all-winner season, 2 million, like, that's pretty cool, but I was like, I'm a little surprised not doing that for 50. You know, it's the most contestants ever. It's a lot of big names. I thought maybe they would have done 2 million. Oh, okay, so they did. But someone's game tonight is literally just it could potentially end on a literal coin flip. Here's what I like about it. I like it for what it's advertised as, a super Beware advantage. Because what I like about Beware advantages is you have the choice to not do it. You can find an idol, and it'll say, beware, and you're like, okay. There's a warning. I can put this back if I don't want to risk it, if I don't want to temporarily lose my vote, if I don't think having an idol is worth it. I can play, cost-benefit analysis and make a decision. And as I think Devins even says, he's like, look, 50-50 is better than 1 in 6, like when it comes to a shot in the dark. So the idea of it just being, this is going to be here tonight. And this is the only night it's going to be here. Or this is going to be here until, I think Shot in the Dark lasts until top 6. So we could say this is going to be here from now until the final 6. And this is what it is. At any point before we vote, because I think it should be like before you go read the votes, or excuse me, before you go to cast a vote, someone can take this and they can flip this coin, and if they call it, they are safe and they get an idol. And if they call it wrong, we don't vote because they're gone. But they knew the risk. They were willing to take it. They were willing to put their game in a 50-50 chance. No one has to, but you have the option. I like that. The super high risk, high reward, so long as everyone is aware of the risks and no one is compelled. But the fact that they said you have to pick someone, and if you don't, we will draw rocks, pissed me off. Because I've said it, I don't know how many times now. I hate Survivor taking away a player's agency. You can argue, there's still agency because they can decide who did it. And we'll get to Devon's here in a second. So there's still some agency, but someone has to play a game of chance for their entire life in the game. And no one should ever be forced to have to do that. It sucked with the do or die twist, and it sucked here. That all being said, shout out to Rick Devens for just being like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll 100% do it. This is the exact way I play Survivor, is just chaos and trying to find idols and whatnot. Yeah, I'll do it. This is going to be great. It's not a question of if anyone is going to do it. It's a question of, is anyone else going to volunteer? But what also kind of makes me mad is Jeff's reaction, at least for me, really seemed to be like, man, I was really hoping there was going to be a lot of... It almost was like, I'm mad that no one seems that mad at this idea, and that no one's, really trying to force it on someone else. Man, where's all that... You know what it is? It feels like, man, there was a lot of natural chaos because people were playing Survivor. But Mr. Beast is here, so I gotta make it seem like it's about Mr. Beast. And now that we've done the actual reveal, and here's the thing... Now I'm expecting the chaos. I'm expecting the bloodbath. This is what happens when you put Mr. Beast on Survivor. And there was none of it because someone just said, yeah, I'll do it. This is just kind of how I play my game. Which makes me think that he was probably going to play a Shot in the Dark that night. I don't know for sure, but I was going to play my Shot in the Dark. Now I don't have to. There's a strong chance I was going home anyways after what I just did here. I didn't even talk about Devon's at Tribal where he's like, okay, let me go a step by step. These are all the conversations I had. These were the names brought to me and who brought them to me. These are the names that I threw out. Sorry, Rizzo. Hey, man, you told me. I appreciate that. That was all gold. That was, Survivor happening and, authentically how these people played. It's great. Oh, it landed on heads, which he called. He got it right. So I'm glad that no one went home because they got a coin flip wrong. I don't know if he just would have been the target. And so if this whole Mr. Beast thing is why we lost Steph, if it is just because, no, Stephanie was going home regardless, which means Mr. Beast's presence really changed nothing except it gave Devon's an idol. But, overall, I like this episode because there was a lot of fun Survivor stuff. I didn't mind the presence of Mr. Beast, but I loathed the twist that he brought.